Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Backlot Banter. My name is Tucker Hazel. This is Tanner Dykstra, who we would all love to bump his fist him. No, wait,
Fist my bump.
yeah, we'll do that. Tanner, today we're here to talk about Project Hail Mary. Tanner, do the thing. Oh, I think you're gonna do a football pass. Oh
Oh no,
yeah,
I'm doing
yeah.
the thumbs down thing.
Boom.
They do a football pass in the movie.
Yeah,
Is that in the book? Tucker, you've read the book.
yeah, I have. Yeah, I don't remember a football pass.
Okay,
I think that.
that doesn't exactly translate to the written word necessarily.
No, you couldn't describe that. That's a
No,
visceral feeling.
it's like a Lovecraftian sort of eldritch horror. It's indescribable.
Football is,
Yeah,
yes.
football.
That's what him told us last year.
It's true.
But we're here to review a movie, actually, Tanner. This is a space movie
Oh,
starring Ryan Gosling and an
huh?
alien. Tanner, I don't know if you're hearing
Huh?
about this. This is going to be crazy. And Tanner, I have one question for you as we start our review of Project
What?
Hail Mary. How many
What?
thumbs down do you give it?
Oh, Tucker. I will. I think either way, I'll give it one thumbs down.
One thumbs down.
However you want to interpret that, and by that I mean, Tucker, I think this is quite a fun movie. I am not over the moon for this. Leading into it, the test screenings and press screenings and everything like that for the social reactions would lead you to believe that this is like the hottest shit coming off the presses, that this is
Mhm.
one of the best space adventure movies that we've gotten in the 21st century, and I would say it's pretty good actually. Ryan Gosling is obviously he has come into his own in this era of his career as like a real good leading man movie star, and does really solid work here. Does exactly what he is asked to do, what you need Ryan Gosling to do in this kind of thing, which is a bit of an ask. A lot of this movie is him alone on a spaceship, or basically, having banter with a faceless, amorphous rock creature. And for in the hands of a lot of other actors, that might not work as well, but I think it really works here. I like Andy Weir. I love the book The Martian. I love the movie The Martian. I listen to the audiobook of that and Artemis. Artemis not as hot on. I've not done any research on Project Hail Mary
Mm.
outside of the film. So, with that in mind, Tucker, I'm interested to hear what your thoughts on this are as a reader and fan of the book.
Oh yeah, I love the book. And this is one of the few times, period, in my life
Hmm.
that I've read the source material before
Yeah,
seeing
you've done a
movies.
little homework.
Yeah, I did my homework a couple of years ago, actually, when this movie was first announced, and I was like, "Oh, I like The Martian." As you said, I like the movie, and I
Yep.
also had read the book. And reading Project Hail Mary, I was really surprised by it because what I like so much about The Martian the book, The Martian the movie, and Project Hail Mary the book is they're very methodical. They are very
Hmm.
science focused. They are very doing the math to try to triangulate the thing, and they work through the process like that. And I think this movie has that, but it doesn't go all the way.
Yeah,
It's interesting. It's This is a comedy, and
it is.
I didn't really gather that from the way people were talking about it and from what I had read from the book. Our main character Ryland Grace is a bit of a quipster here in the
Mhm.
Project Hail Mary movie, which is like kind of true in the book, but to avoid too much comparison to the book because I don't really think that's neither here nor
Fair enough.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I I it being funny, I think gives it its own tone that I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting. I think that there's a lot of really good like laugh out loud moments in this movie. The packed IMAX crowd on the early showing was having an
Uh-huh.
absolute hoot with this movie, and so it's a great watch. It is. Ryan Gosling is great. The visual effects are great. The
Yep.
cinematography is like genuinely stunning. The color grading is
Mm.
phenomenal. The practical effects are excellent. Like this is an all around fantastic film. I think that my one holdback from it is that I think on a writing level, whether that is some of the humor that doesn't quite hit,
Yeah.
it's more funny than it isn't. But some of the
Right.
humor doesn't quite hit. But also like on a development level, I don't think this movie sits with the characters enough. It's a 2.5 hour
Yeah.
movie, but like really only Ryland Grace gets like development.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that for sure.
Yeah, and that's really the only thing holding it back from me truly like loving this movie. I have plans to go see it again, take some family members
Sure.
to go
Sure.
see it, and so approaching it on its level and knowing where it goes and knowing the more comedic tone it takes, I think I might be able to appreciate it a little bit more. But I was a little bit reserved as I was watching it because I was waiting for a moment that I really felt an emotional connection to the film through the writing of
Mm.
the characters. But I don't think this movie is as concerned with its character narrative as it is with the wider things going on.
Yeah. So let's talk about Ryland Grace. Is it Ryland or Ryland?
Duh, duh.
Okay, with the D at the end. So I also, having about 24 hours of remove from this film now, have started to struggle with that character a little bit more. And while I was watching, I think what really hamstrung that for me was the structure of this story, which I
Hmm,
understand is quite similar to the book, but is a lot of like jumping back and forth in the timeline.
sure.
We get basically our opening set piece of him waking up on the spaceship after 4 years or whatever of stasis, and then we continually jump back to basically him being approached by the Sandra Hüller character, whose name is Tucker.
I
Do you
think honest, I
remember?
don't know if they say it in the movie. I
Oh,
was
okay.
realizing that as the movie was wrapping up. I like clicked on Letterboxd to go check. I'm like, I don't remember hearing that last night. I'm gonna be
Ava
completely honest.
Strat. Ava Strat. Excuse
Strat
me.
Ava. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like
What?
seriously, do they
Yeah.
say her name? They must, but
They
like
think they must.
they
Well,
they,
I think
they
she probably says it when she introduces herself to Ryland in
yes,
his middle school science
yeah.
classroom. You learn that he's basically this disgraced. What's the field of science that he's in? He's
Mm.
not a bioengineer.
Tanner, I don't know shit about shit. Okay, if it's not movies, I
Microbiologist.
don't care.
Excuse me,
I
microbiologist.
yeah, I
That's what he
guess you
is.
kind of yeah, it's probably
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
But yeah, he's a disgraced microbiologist who is being brought on because the sun is dying. It's being eaten up by these mysterious space dots, and they need to figure out what feeds them and what's causing them and how to stop them. And we keep jumping back and forth between this story, and the only real meat you're getting out of the Ryland Grace character is in those earlier sequences. The sequences
Mm,
on Earth.
yeah,
Because
sure.
I feel like the sequences in space, especially when the Rocky character is introduced, is a lot of what you were talking about, Tucker. The very strong comedic thrust of this
Sure.
movie.
Yeah.
It is the snappy back and forth banter of two guys, two aliens to each other, having to work together on a problem, and they
Yeah.
operate very differently, and they have different senses of humor, and they have different
Different
ways of
senses.
communicating. Yeah, different senses, exactly. Different ways of moving around in a space,
Yeah.
especially. So yeah, the space stuff is especially focused on that, and so I found this stuff on Earth to be like fleeting when I'm like, this should be important stuff. This is
Hmm.
the stuff
Hmm.
that should ground me and inform Ryland as a
Hmm.
character, and
Yeah.
it saves a lot of that because it has the third act twist that we don't have to talk about or spoil right now for
Good.
anybody who wants
Tanner,
some initial. Okay, fuck it.
yeah, it's a good
We're,
movie. Go
we're,
see it. It's a theatrical
yeah,
experience.
I know. We're doing this early. We're doing this review earlier than we often do. So I just wanted to maybe
Go
I
for
don't
it.
know. Anyway, the third act twist of Project Hail Mary is that Ryland was not a willing participant on this mission.
Hmm.
He was basically, after a tragedy that kills off the entire science team on the Earthbound mission, Project Hail Mary, he's basically forcibly put into a coma and put on the spaceship and blasted into
Hmm.
space, where he wakes up and he's the only survivor. And
Yeah.
it's unclear to me also that I feel like this is an issue at what point he remembers that, or if he knows that the whole time.
Yeah.
Because they do the thing of like his memory is fading in and out, like he's slowly gaining memories back. But I'm like, okay, at what point does he remember that? Is it when it's revealed in the narrative? Like, is that when he remembers it? I don't really know. So that's just like a scatter shot of thoughts that I was kind of
Hmm.
rambling through.
Sure.
Sorry. But I don't know, Tucker. Do you have any feelings on him as a character, or like the structure of this, and or how well it's executed here?
I I think that I agree the tone of the movie is kind of split between these two time periods
Yeah.
that it's covering. Uh I would more place my criticism on the two tones being so
Hmm.
separate rather than either half being to one or the other, or I guess no, that is my problem, but like I
Yeah.
wish they were more matched between how
Yeah.
comedic and how
Even
serious
out the
they were.
levels a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because and I think the main place that again I'll push the criticism of this movie on a character level, which is again where my main criticism
Yeah.
is that Rocky is too silly. I think
Yeah.
that Rocky as a character and this situation that they're put in that is so dire, and they're both one of the last of their own species, and they're both trying to work
Mhm.
together to save their respective planets. The gravity of that situation doesn't really seem to sit in to Rocky. Uh, we could because he's kind of just, especially before he gets the ability to speak through a translator.
Right, right.
He's kind of just a physical comedy thing. But then even when he
Mhm.
does get the translator, the voice is funny and the way that he speaks is like broken English funny, and so
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
mostly hides any sense of drama behind like laughy moments. And
Yeah.
I do think that there's just this touch of personal connection between the two of them that is a little bit lost in most of their interaction is Grace being or Ryland being uh like entertained slash annoyed with Rocky, and I
Yeah.
think that I really wanted to feel their bond more.
Mhm.
And that's this is where I will say that I think the book does a better job of
Yep.
their dynamic evolving over time and them getting to know one another, and this spending so much time together and being pushed to learn about their cultures and communications and senses and stuff like that. Is why I love
Mhm.
that book. Is it's like given literal worlds and senses and body parts and atmospheres apart, two people can come to work together for a common goal and really build a strong bond. That's why I
Yeah.
love that book. It's the idea of breaking through first contact and forming a true friendship. And this movie kind of yada yadas past that by just having a bunch of bumbling antics, and then it's like, oh, Rocky's got the ball, Rocky's got the like tubes that he can go through in the thing, he's moving
Uh-huh.
in, he's the roommate, and then when the real stakes come in, and Rocky almost sacrifices himself for that, and then Grace comes back and like sacrifices his own trip back to Earth. These are big stakes moments that I don't necessarily feel the weight of because
Hmm.
the two characters haven't had like a heart to heart moment. They've mostly just been like bickering the whole time.
Yeah. I just had this thought pop into my head. I'm
Yeah,
gonna toss this over to you over to you and see what you think of it. Rocky doesn't feel like a peer to Ryland in this film.
sure. Yeah,
He feels like a wacky, like, animal sidekick, for lack of a better
sure. Yeah.
word. Like,
Hmm.
he's kind of feels like a talking animal sidekick.
He's like Splat, Tanner. And Splat,
Yes,
of course, Tanner
exactly.
is from.
Strange World. I was
Good
about to call
job.
it Hidden World, but
Good
Strange
job.
World. Yeah, but that's kind of what he feels like in
Yeah.
this movie to me. Like, I don't feel exactly what you're saying. That there are two beings from cultures who have developed space travel and like have are facing an existential threat, and they are the sole representative in this situation for their civilizations, their populations,
Yeah.
and I maybe it literally is just a we are looking at Ryan Gosling, a human person who we have a connection to, versus a unemotive rock puppet creature
Hmm.
that like, oh, well, the human I can like see emotions on, and so I can
Yeah.
see how this is weighing on him, and I can't necessarily see that in the puppet that Ryan
Yeah.
Gosling is interacting with on set. So maybe it is just that, but I think it is also the writing of the character of Rocky. I think it is a lot of him being, he's running around being like, amaze, amaze, amaze. Oh my gosh, look at all this stuff. Like, and that's funny stuff. It's wacky, silly stuff. But for the emotional weight of the emotional stakes that this film is trying to set up, it feels a little bit underserving for that Rocky as a character
Exactly.
who has equal stakes in this that
Yeah.
Ryland does.
Yeah. 100%. And I think where I don't want this criticism to come across and confuse something that I don't think is true is that I don't think this movie being a comedy is a problem. I think it's one of its best strengths. I think the comedy
Absolutely.
usually works. I think that there's a lot of good physical comedy with Rocky. I think that specifically Ryan Gosling has amazing comedic timing in this movie that we've seen in
Yeah.
other films like The Nice
Yep.
Guys, but or like Fall Guy movies like those. Uh,
Barbie. Yeah.
Oh, of course, Barbie. Yeah, like he's a great comedian. I think that's it's
Yeah.
like an underappreciated element of his persona. But and I like that it does that. Again, I think it's a strength because one thing that helps me largely to connect with characters in films is when they have a sense of humor, when they can not take themselves too seriously, when they can jab back and forth, because that's what I do in my life, and that helps me to empathize a little bit stronger with characters. And for both Rocky and for Ryland, they are both out of their depth. They are not supposed to be the ones that are there. Rocky is like basically the like coal engine engineer from their ship. He's kind of just like he's a talented mechanic, but he's not like a high class
He's
guy
not a
from his society.
scientist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
from his society. And same with with Ryland, who has put up this sort of barrier of comedy and aloofness because he has been
Mm,
treated so poorly by the scientific community, that both these characters being comedic makes sense for their personalities and does endear me more to
certainly,
them. That is not
certainly.
what I'm saying. I just think that, or I'm not saying that shouldn't be in the movie. I think that
Yeah,
they need to break down that barrier at a certain point, or they should, in my
yeah.
opinion, break down that barrier at a certain point, have a heart to heart. And also, to your point, I think part of the reason why we connect with Rylan more, not only the human element, but is that Rocky gets like fleeting touches of
Yeah.
backstory, and that the fact that he has a mate and the fact that the rest of his crew died, and these are good empathetic moments to help us understand
Mhm.
that he is a person and that he has family and culture and has lost people that he knew. That is all good, but I would love to have, before like the epilogue,
Yep.
gotten Rocky flashbacks. What is Aaron like? What is it like when
Mm.
that his planet is dying? A flashback to the radiation poisoning killing his fellow crewmates. These kind of things, like
Mhm.
him being scared and alone on the ship, and not knowing what's going to happen. We get nothing from his perspective, and I think that for a two character movie that this movie is really based on, it feels very
Mhm.
lopsided in terms of how much
Yeah.
development and attention our pair of characters get. And
Yeah.
that is even more true with the other side characters of the movie, which are all on Earth and barely get any development. Sandra Hüller's
Uh-huh.
character is the, I mean, honestly, second down on the totem pole in terms of how much development she gets. I think she even maybe
I mean,
rivals or edges
she's
out
second
Rocky.
build. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but she's
Yeah,
even
but
not. I don't even. I didn't even know the character's name. Like, there's
yeah,
definitely
I
a
think. Well,
problem
yeah,
here in the script where
yeah.
Ryland just sucks up so much oxygen, pun definitely intended,
Mhm.
that rest of the cast feels totally ancillary.
Yeah, it feels like because I was thinking about this too, and thinking about this film in relation to a film that I love, The Martian.
Sure.
It came
Yeah.
out, about 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Stars Matt Damon, directed by Ridley Scott, and I
Yeah.
was just like, outside of, I feel the source text being stronger,
Mm.
for reasons of like, you know, it makes sense that Mark Watney is sucking up all the oxygen. He is the only person on this entire fucking planet.
Yeah.
Like he
Yeah.
is alone, and like yeah, and the relay of communication is such a great aspect of that film. And like we get the more occasional cuts back to Earth than we do in Project Hail
Yeah.
Mary, of course. But those are your, like, you still get the excitement of problem solving down there, and
Yeah.
it's the teamwork across, thousands and tens of hundreds of thousands of miles that makes that film so compelling. On top of Ridley Scott being a better director than Lord Miller,
Sure.
and Matt Damon, I'll say it, being a better movie star than Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, I would agree with that because he's able to carry a little bit more of the seriousness.
Yeah, listen, yeah, exactly. That'll put it. Setting all that aside, I forgot where I was going with this. Is what I was. Well, what did I start off saying?
The
I was
Martian.
comparing this to The Martian, and we were talking. Oh yeah, Sandra Hüller. Sorry, Sandra
Oh,
Hüller. Yeah, yeah.
oh,
That
the
because
Earth
you
elements. Yeah.
exactly you talked about him. The Grace character taking up so much space in the film,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's what got me thinking about my Martian thoughts. But Sandra Hüller is a great actress. Tucker, I've only seen her in one other film. I think, of course, a film that we've talked about a couple of times on this
That's for
channel.
sure.
Actually, Anatomy of a Fall.
Mhm.
Fantastic in that movie. And I was really interested to see her cast in like a big Hollywood film. I was quite interested by that move for her career post Oscar nomination. And I think she does good work here. There's not a lot of time for her character to really flourish, but I think that she gets some like key lines and imbues them with some weight that make them feel important. Like when Grace says to her, well, when they're on the ship, he's like, well, I'm sure it's not easy to, ask these people to go into space to die on a suicide mission, literally. And she's like, no, like what sucks about it is that it is easy for me to ask them that. It's just easy for me to ask that of them rather than have to do anything myself.
Yeah.
And then they have a couple of the conversations to that end. There is the third act twist conversation where she's like, "Okay, well, since you're not going to do this, I don't want you to be angry at me, but we are making you do this. Like
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
like it is your life." versus the lives of 8 billion other people.
Yeah.
Like that, sorry, the calculus is not in your favor there. And she just very matter of factly and with like not any cold calculating, but like with empathy and reason is
Hmm.
like you're doing this. Like there's no other choice for you. I think she gives weight to those moments. I think Sandra Hüller is a great actress and she can do that. But
Yeah.
again, the character has not a lot of material. She does sing "Sign of the Times" by Harry Styles, so there's that too.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's an interesting element of this where I feel like the movie wants me to buy a little bit more into their dynamic than I
Yep,
ultimately do by the end of it. And
I
again,
agree.
I think it comes from us learning so little about her that I don't really understand why Ryland starts to maybe like fall in love with her a little bit.
Yeah.
Like the movie teases at that, but it's never fully
No.
explored. I do like a good amount of the on Earth stuff. I think that uh Ryland Grace doing science stuff is where this movie
Cool.
succeeds and where it is.
Hey, that is stuff that Andy Weir is really good at
Yeah.
writing. Is
Yeah.
one guy being like snap, snap, snappy, problem solving, science, science, science. Like he can do that shit in his goddamn sleep.
Yeah. Um but and so I have no like strong feelings either way about Sandra Hüller's character. Um, Other than I wish that we'd spent a little bit of time with her, and also like again, the fact that I didn't remember her name. I read
Yeah.
the book and I watched the movie last night. I didn't remember her name, and she's literally second build. Like I
Uh
do
huh.
think that is a problem with this movie not giving us like I remember Carl's name more than I do Ava Strat.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, just a quick side note. He's credited as a different character name on Letterboxd for some reason. Don't know why that is.
that actor for
Yeah,
Carl.
Lionel Boyce.
It's
Yeah.
definitely Carl, right?
Yeah, his credited name on Letterboxd is Officer Steve Hatch.
Maybe that's what the character's name is in the
The
book,
book
and it's like in a
probably.
holdover.
That's
I
what I
don't
have
know.
to assume. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but Tanner, all that being said, um,
Yes.
this is a movie that we like. And it's
Yeah,
a
we do
movie
like this
that
movie.
I really think people should see. I think it's a
Yeah.
movie that will do really well. It is a great sign of this sort of blockbuster quality, unique experience that we don't get
Mhm.
too much anymore. Very theatrical. Uh, that is production. Where I think this movie falters in its writing and some of its characterization, it
Mhm.
more than makes up for it in absolute fucking dripping, oozing spades, Tanner. With just sauce. This
Oh
movie
yeah.
is big and colorful and epic and intricate and uh my goat, Daniel Pemberton of Concord fame,
Oh
doing the
yes, of
score for
course.
this
Yes, of
movie
course.
that is choral and it is like it is like sprinkled around the edges and then swells in when things are
Yeah,
coming. Like
it's a great like space adventure score where it swells and it moves and it invokes the epic scale and the the magnificence of of a spaceship twirling through the massive ever expanding expanse of the cosmos or whatever.
yeah,
And then it gets like twinkly and sentimental when it's like, God, here I am, a human from Earth amongst all of this, millions of light years away from my home, and here I am with my alien friend who I didn't know existed, several days ago, and all of this stuff. Like, yeah, the score conveys that, this is what, of course, what Greg Fraser did instead of doing the Batman Part 2 or Dune Part 3. It looks really good. There are, of course, the big showy sequences that have been highlighted in basically all of the marketing materials for this, which is only one sequence of the movie that this like swirling green planet
yeah,
thing,
yeah,
and then they switch on like an X-ray sort of vision, or infrared sort of vision, where they can see the sparkling space dots, all
yeah.
going to this one
Just
planet,
just
and
just
like
fucking electric imagery. Like genuinely,
absolutely,
and like that's why I like. I'm gonna give this movie a high score at the end. Like I have some
sure, sure,
issues,
sure,
but like Tanner. I'm getting
yeah,
goosebumps remembering it. It's like I was sitting in the theater, God willing, watching a big budget, well shot movie with just like
hmm
some really compelling, colorful, saturated, expansive imagery.
Yeah, and we talked about how the over reliance on comedy, if I can use that term, I don't know if
Yeah,
that's necessarily fair to the film. It can be a hindrance, like that's kind of what we opened up our conversation on. But like Lord and Miller are really funny directors, really funny writers who can direct comedy very well, and that's what they do here.
yeah.
I mean, they can just make something feel snappy and fun and propulsive and everything like that. And that's what a lot of this 2.5 hour movie feels like. Some of the I'll even say I had a rough sort of onboarding into this film. I
Mm.
think the beginning is a little bit rocky. Production.
No, but
Uh,
I actually think that's a good point. Is I was
mhm.
sitting there and I'm like, okay, I know what's going on. I
Yeah.
know what's going to happen. I know who he is and why he's in this situation. And
Right.
I'm like thinking, I'm like looking around, like I would bet maybe two other people in this theater have like read the book.
Read that. Yeah.
How easy is it to pick up what's going on? Uh,
Yeah. Well, it's not even that for me. I think it's literally just like the energy and the mood isn't there
sure.
immediately there for me. But the moment where I really locked into it is when we are back on Earth, post the him getting recruited into the mission thing,
Mm,
and he's got his three little space dots and Carl and basically an airplane hangar, and he's like, okay, let's fucking figure this, just start fucking around with shit. Like
yeah.
that was my favorite part when they're building the box, and he's like, "Why don't we put this box inside of a bigger box?" I was like, "This is really fun stuff." And then
This movie,
they
Tanner,
go to the
this
giant.
movie loves the hard cut to like
Absolutely, the
someone
comedic
realizes them,
cut.
and then they go boom, and
Yeah.
you're like doing something.
And then like they move to the aircraft carrier and all the fun stuff that happens there with him with Sandra Hüller's character Ava being like, I grant you full top secret classification for for Project Hail Mary, and like all the scientists being like, we don't know or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Like all that stuff it hits those beats really well. And even if I think the Rocky and Ryland dynamic is perhaps written a little bit too heavy, laid on a little bit too thick for a little bit too long, like all of that snappy back and forth repartee, it still works.
yeah,
Like it
yeah.
worked on me, it worked on everybody in my theater. It is effective stuff. And then even when Ryan Gosling is fucking flying around in zero gravity with his like rope system that he's built, and Ryan Gosling lets rip a couple Ryan Gosling high pitched screams in this. Like there is stuff that just works in
Yeah.
Project Hail Mary. There is some stuff that doesn't work. There's some stuff that is underdeveloped, that is underbaked. Absolutely. Um, but yeah, I think that people should go see this. It is a solid Hollywood blockbuster that, for all intents and purposes, can be classified as an original. I feel, it's a classical. It's
Sure.
adapted from a book, a best-selling novel, or whatever. It's
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah, Tanner, it's an original movie in the same way The Godfather is an original movie, and 2001:
Yeah.
Space Odyssey is an original movie, and Jaws is an original movie, and The Shining is an original movie.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
sitting there, I was watching this, I'm like, it, it's not rare for us to get an adaptation of literary source
hmm
material anymore, but it feels like it's kind of rare for a major motion picture, like a big budget
absolutely,
studio film, to be
absolutely.
a first time adaptation of a book. And I do think that it stacks up in that lineage. And I was thinking about this. I'm like looking at the MGM logo come up before this movie. I'm like, whoa! Like, not only
Yeah.
does that, like, I don't see that very much anymore, and it's usually
Uh huh.
before fucking Amazon Prime fucking
I'm turning
jackpot
something
ass
on
movies.
Amazon Prime. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
or like an awardsy movie. But I was
Right,
like,
right.
this is what I want movies to be. I
Yeah.
can't harp enough on how good this movie looks, Ted. I think that the practical nature of the sets and how intricately designed everything is,
Yeah.
and but also how, unlike many space movies, even some of my favorite space movies, this movie doesn't stray away from having saturated colors even within its interior spaces, which are where we
Sure.
end up spending most of the movie. W- Gold is like the primary color I think of when I think of Project Hail Mary, because
Oh, sure.
you know, like those like engraved discs that are like the
Yes.
gold
The
things that
space
like
the Discovery disc,
yeah,
yeah.
they send out for aliens or whatever, or like the gold plating that covers like satellites. That's
Yep.
an aesthetic that most space based movies don't take. They
Yeah.
usually go for
Well,
a
because a lot
clean
of them a lot of
Hubble
them are
light or a
sci-fi, you know? Yeah,
yeah.
they're like, "This is far future." Like, we everything is sleek and, and perfectly manicured
Yeah,
here.
but this is a warmer movie, and I think that the warmer tone of the oranges and red lights and gold plating and things
Mhm.
gives this a it's got a richness to it. There'll be some nice like perfectly framed lens flare from like behind Ryan Gosling's ear, and it's like
Mhm.
lighting up the inside of because also the xenonite that the Arids
Oh,
build their
yeah.
things out of
Yeah.
is like this like shimmering black and gold polygonal like this
Yeah,
is like
it's 'cause
seriously
yeah.
compelling imagery that is very unique as well. Like I've seen a lot of
Yeah.
fucking force fields and 3D printers and spaceships in my life, but like when you see the Arid spaceship that is made of
Yeah.
like needles and like it's just like this crazy shape like floating through space, it's like
Yeah.
holy shit.
Mhm. Yeah, there's just stuff in there that works, like I said. I don't know if I have a whole heck of a lot else. The ending's cute, I guess, you know? I guess works with the whole thing of, like, Ryland feels abandoned and, not exactly valued by the people of Earth as
Yeah.
he was forced to go on this trip, so he's like, "I guess I can, like, have a life as a school teacher here on Arid, I suppose." Though I go back to my thing of, like, was I ever fully convinced that he, like, loved being a teacher? I don't know if I was.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's an element of the characterization that I like, that
Hmm.
I feel was seated correctly. Because like it feels, he's having fun with like the child actors in that opening school, that school classroom sequence. But I'm like, what about the rest of his character tells me that he like loves teaching? I don't
Hmm.
really know if that's
Yeah,
conveyed to
I
me.
think it's probably more because we don't spend enough time with him in
Yeah,
his normal human life because
yeah,
we get one scene and then he's ripped out of that. Um, but no, I think that's an interesting point. But I do think that
yeah,
for me, it is I see that in his sense of humor, in that
sure,
he's
yeah.
he's got a light tone. He's not a serious scientific person. He
No,
has the
he,
personality of having
yeah,
fun with children and pretending the do like a little hot potato kind of thing and like making some
yeah,
jokes about a serious situation and these kind of things that you need to have when you're going to be a good middle school teacher teaching
absolutely.
serious topics to children.
Yeah, your point of him not being like a serious character or whatever just reminds me of the line that he has with Ava when after she sings that song where he goes out on the deck, or I think it's before actually, sorry, where he goes out on like the observation deck of the boat and he's like, "I'd love to be mysterious like you. I just talk too much."
Yeah, 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 and
No,
that like that is it's funny. This is a funny
yeah,
movie. It's a comedy. I think I was looking for a little bit more dramatic stakes and seriousness.
yeah,
I think this movie it tries to do it both ways, and I think that might be why on like, especially my first watch I was a little bit apprehensive of like which way is the tone gonna go because again
yeah,
it strikes these massive orchestral serious chords and the stake of the universe and these beautiful flowing imagery and stuff like that, and that's the kind of thing that I feel like I would more traditionally see in Gravity or Interstellar or 2001 or Ad
uh,
Astra, which are all much more serious movies than this one
yeah,
is.
certainly.
This movie, character wise, has more of a like buddy.
It's a Lord and Miller
It's
tone.
an
That's
an
exactly.
odd couple in space, you know.
Yeah, Tucker, lest we forget, Lord and Miller, who've not directed a movie for a decade, mind
Yes,
you,
true.
are the directors of the Lego Movie, 21 Jump Street,
Yeah,
22 Jump Street, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Like
yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah.
that's
That's
their
all
bread and
comedy.
butter there. Yeah, that's all comedy.
Yeah, and I
And
think
they were
thinking back through
fired
that.
from Star Wars. They were fired from Solo, a Star Wars story, because they were making it too funny.
Hmm. That movie could have been funnier. Sorry,
I would
Ron.
agree.
Sorry, Ron. Yeah, but you know what? Thinking about it through that lens, I think it makes a lot more sense. This the tone that this movie ends up taking,
Yeah, yeah.
and I think that this is for one of the first times in my life. Again, as I mentioned, one of the first times I've
Hmm.
been familiar with source material before going in, where I do feel a bit of that distance between something that I love, which is that book that by Andy Weir, and an adaptation, which is a more comedic version of it from a pair of comedic directors. Right?
Yeah,
There's those different angles there, but talking through it, I think I've understood my complaints a little bit more, and
sure.
I'm excited for a rewatch to understand going in. This is a comedy take on this
Gotcha,
serious
gotcha.
subject material.
Yeah. Yeah, and here's the thing. I'll even say I was like, will this even hold up for me much on a rewatch? Having now experienced all the jokes and having like that elation of seeing the comedic stylings of this for the first time. But that's a good mindset to take into your inevitable rewatch, your imminent rewatch. I'm gonna end up at like a 7.3 on this one. I'm gonna say,
Sure. I'll give it an 8.2. Good
okay,
movie. Good movie from both of us.
good movie,
And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this one sticks around because I mean, people seem to really be loving it. And I'm
absolutely.
I'm happy. This isn't one of those movies where I'm like rolling my eyes like, "Oh, brother, the people are loving this one." It's like, "No. Like, yeah, yeah, go have fun.
Yeah,
Enjoy Project
go
Hail
have fun
Mary."
with this one, guys. Definitely, definitely.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching. What do we say, Tanner?
We'll see you next time.
That is what we say. Good job.